Program Director, Dr. Beverly Troiano, and faculty member, Dr. Simeon Stumme. I'm going to turn it over to them, and I want to thank you for coming this evening.
So, thank you, Dean Hewitt, for that warm welcome. We're very excited to present this panel this evening. I want to first say that action research is an important component of what we do here at Elmhurst University in the School of Education. In the TEL minor, we have a special focus on looking at action research with multilingual learners. So action research or teacher research, it is done by teachers. So it's a special kind of research that is a systematic inquiry that teachers design and implement to examine their own teaching. And it's with a focus, like I said, on multilingual learners. So this past year, Dr. Simeon Stumme and Dr. Dean Jensen and I, we received an innovation grant from the university to develop a multilingual virtual teacher researcher network. So the project was designed to create a space to develop content, create a social network, and offer professional development for teachers working with multilingual students. Central to the design of the network is the notion that teachers, through community, have the power to determine and use action research to best serve the needs of their multilingual learners. So next month, we'll launch our website. This year, we've offered 2 6-week professional development sessions with our alumni. And tonight, I'm very excited to have 4 of these alumni teacher researchers join us for discussion. And now Simeon will introduce them.
All right, so all of them alumni. So first, Esther Pereira, class of 2018. She is currently a bilingual coordinator and English language program teacher at Hagen Elementary School in the Chicago Public Schools. She's in a master's program in instructional leadership at Roosevelt with a principal endorsement. Yeah, got all of that? All
yes.
Right, awesome. Next we have Lily Velasquez Silva, class of 2015. She is a first grade dual language teacher at Tioga Elementary School in Bensonville, District 2. She has a master's from Roosevelt in dual language teacher leadership. And finally, we have Jenny Pina, class of 2020. She is a bilingual interventionist at Lake Louise Elementary School, Community Consolidated School District 15 in Palatine. She's pursuing an MA in teacher leadership through Concordia University, Chicago. And briefly, because of scheduling issues, Michael Meadows is hopefully going to join us. He is an alum from 2016, and he's a resident principal at Kelly High School, Chicago Public Schools. Michael is pursuing his EDD, so Educational Doctorate, in Education Leadership at the University of Illinois, Chicago. All right, so thank you guys for coming and joining us, and looking forward to the conversation.
So we're going to begin by just having you tell a little bit about the action research project that you most recently have been working on, and sort of the lessons that you learned through doing the action research.
I can start. Yeah. So I had the pleasure of doing action research this fall and this spring. I'm a newly instructional leader at my school as a bilingual coordinator. I have this is my 6th year teaching, and a lot of what was happening at my school was we were receiving a lot of newcomers from Venezuela. My school was heavy impacted in the network, so we received about 150 kids in about 4 months, right? So I've been very experienced and had the pleasure of teaching multilingual learners. But to me, it was very interesting to see how many of these students were coming in with a lot of learning gaps. And a lot of those gaps were in their native language. So then that inspired me to my most recent action research was on how to support teachers in supporting newcomers. And that was my most recent project. I'm really excited to talk more about it, but yeah, that was my focus for my action research.
The focus for my action research project was more in my classroom. I wanted to investigate more about my own literacy practice and how I can further impact my students. So my research focused around small group literacy instruction and how I was able to impact my students' reading, comprehension, and critical thinking during my small group lessons. And there was a lot of learning that I did during the whole process that I did research in the fall. So I'm excited here to share more about this project and how it all went.
So I was just in the fall portion of the action research team. I wasn't able to join this spring, so I didn't get to fully investigate into the research question. But initially, I wanted to focus on engagement. So how can I engage my struggling readers or students that are struggling in reading during reading intervention? So oftentimes when students are already struggling in reading, the last thing they want to do is go to reading. So thinking about what can I do to make it fun, engaging, how can I connect it to the real world. So that's kind of the biggest lesson that I learned, is connecting reading to something that's valuable to them. So a lot of them want to be soccer players. So then I brought it back to, you need to know how to read a contract. If you want to be a TikTok star, you need to understand how to read a contract so you know what percentage of money are you getting. You need to know how to do math too. So then they're like, wow, yeah, I do need to know how to read. I do need to know how to do math. And just connecting it to something that's important to them and their future. And I think that's what I learned the most through how can I engage them into wanting to learn to read.
All right, so the next question is, can you guys talk a little bit about the connection between conducting action research and then enacting change within your practice, right? So that connection of doing the research, but then changing your practice or reflecting on your own practice.
Well, I think it was key to mention reflection. I think I learned to be reflective as I go and every step of the way, and just adapting. Sometimes I'm like, well, let's try this. And I was really focused on that, and that maybe didn't work out so well. So then it's just being flexible and reflecting as you go and noting, well, I need to be open to new suggestions or new things, and just allowing me to really focus on that area that I want to improve on.
Sharing similar experience, I think that reflection piece was a big one for me, because it allowed me to think about, okay, what was I already doing within my own practice in small groups that was helping my students. And I noticed that the prompts that I was using with them, okay, take a look at what letter does the word begin with. That helped me notice, in that moment, okay, what kind of prompts do I need to have with the students to help them understand the lesson better or help them read better, and also reflecting on what I was doing. Because when I went back to look at my notes, I noticed that I was also using physical prompts. So that was more pointing to the words or helping them look at a certain picture that was going to help them read. So using kind of the reflection piece, looking back on my practice really helped me understand that a little better. And also being flexible, in that moment, I was able to adapt some of the lesson to help them understand better.
For me, I definitely say that there were two big things that I feel I learned. The first one was definitely how to work with teachers, establishing that trust. And then the second thing was understanding scaffolding, because I went into this coaching with this teacher thinking we're going to do sentence stems and vocab. And then when I went into the classroom to observe, I realized that they had a lot more needs that we anticipated. So then we had to unpack a curriculum, we had to develop observational tools, and those were things that I didn't think I was going to do once I started working directly with that teacher, once I was in the classroom, seeing all the learning gaps, all the different learning styles that they had. And then it was the understanding and the importance of background knowledge and purpose. Like, you can give as many scaffolds as you can, but it wasn't until as a teacher, she said, this is the purpose of why we're doing this. And that, to me, was a really good finding in my action research. Like, you can plan a well-planned lesson, you can scaffold, but multilingual learners really value the purpose of why they're doing the activity. And that was something that was really good to see in the action research I had conducted with the teacher.
So all of our professional development took place on Zoom, and this whole community was formed virtually. So our next question is really about what was the experience like to be part of this digital community?
It was so much fun.
Yeah.
Like, we were in like different graduating classes too. So then to me, I was like, okay, this is gonna be interesting. And then I think the first one was like a little awkward, you're getting to know each other. I also like the representation of the different districts we were at, because we were in different districts, different populations, serving different types of multilingual learners. And then when we were in the Zoom and we were sharing what we were working on, we were providing each other feedback, and I valued that. Like, I think it helped me grow and it helped me become a better practitioner. And I think that is so valuable, where you're in a space where you're all, hey, I don't know if this is right, is it? You're providing that feedback that's helping you grow as a teacher, as a leader. I mean, we're in different roles, right? So I think the fact that we're in different roles and we all learned to become better and be better equipped, I think it says a lot about the power of that.
Yeah,
I mean, I didn't know what to expect at the beginning, I mean, it was just like, I don't know who's going to be there. Like, everyone's like in different graduating classes, like, what if I'm like the newer teacher, So it's just like, I didn't know what to expect. So, but then everything was like great. It was a really welcoming space, and we were just able to talk about what we're seeing in our classrooms, what we're seeing in our schools, and it just, now we have that person or that group to go to if we just need advice on something, want feedback, just want to share something that's related to education. It's kind of like a friend group we created together, which wouldn't have happened otherwise if like I would have never met you.
right. I love how we were all just connected, and I learned so much from all of you. I really looked forward to having our meetings and just seeing how we can support each other on our research projects. But it was definitely much more than that, because our conversations would always lead to like new findings. Like, I learned just so much from every conversation and from all of you. So I just thought it was really cool.
And so many laughs.
Yeah.
So many things have happened.
And it was late too. Like, you think we'd have no energy. I mean, we're all full-time jobs and education, and then we're logging in 7-something at night, going until 9. But it was that space, right? Like, you see the value in it, and you want to collaborate, and we formed a really good group and good friendships. So it was fun.
Yeah, one of the things, can I jump in?
Yeah.
So one of the things that I noticed was kind of that mix of having personal moments, but then also getting down and doing the work, right? And but not necessarily separating those out. They were kind of built into each other. Yeah, and we found out that Michael, who's not here yet, was about to have a kid. Yes, and you guys were.
Well, then you also helped my school.
Yeah. We.
Yeah, like in the community aspect too, and I had no idea.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, do you want to say something about that?
Oh, well,
Yeah.
the first time I met Esther was at her school before the project started, because I was working with the Albany Park Police Department. They were hosting migrants from Venezuela on the floor of the police department, and there were a lot of kids. And Hagen was the closest school, and the word in the neighborhood was that it was a really, really welcoming place, and that the principal and the staff at the school were just very, very kind of open to working with the community. So one of my jobs at the police station turned out to be gathering the children and their families and taking them to school and getting them signed up to be part of the school community. And I do have to say that the word on the street was true. The place was extremely welcoming, and I know you guys worked really, really hard, or are still working really hard to integrate them into what you guys do. So yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So in some ways, the experience that we had, the digital community, was a professional development. So I'm curious about how you might understand this type of professional development as different than other forms of professional development.
It was something that we cared about and wanted to work on. I think sometimes we're provided with lots of professional development in schools, and sometimes it doesn't target exactly what we want to improve on. And this group helped us actually gain feedback from each other, and it was just something that was important to us, something that we chose versus a professional development that's chosen for us. So I think that was kind of the biggest strength in this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I felt like we had much greater control about our learning, because we got to decide the topic of what we wanted to research, and by doing that, we were able to select something that was important to us, and we were motivated to find and implement new changes for that in our practice. And I really liked that it was the center, our practice, looking at how we can impact that change in our schools and what were the topics or areas that we wanted to focus on. So in a sense, it was the context was our school, our practice, our community. So that's what I think makes it really powerful for our learning, because we're doing it within the context versus something like an outside presenter or professional development that might not have as great idea about what our needs are. Instead, it's giving that power to the teachers to decide, okay, what is it that we see we have a greatest need in? So it places the teacher as the expert, and I think that was really powerful, because we have so much knowledge, and sometimes we might not be able to share it in a different context, but in this way that we did it, we were able to share that expertise with others and have that process and group to share it with.
I to echo what my team has been sharing, I think I love that it was very hands-on, and it was very authentic in terms of the action research questions. You didn't really know what was going to happen until you really go into the study, the observation, the data analysis, and I think that is so valuable. I also liked how we had these two awesome people next to me guiding us through the process. I think that's very necessary for professional development. Traditional professional development that we attend, it's you're sitting down, you're listening to one person speaking, but we're the ones doing the work, we're the ones sharing with each other, and then you have Simeon and Beverly guiding us through that work. That was just so valuable, and they had said it was very impactful to the work that we're doing and very much relatable to our schools, our classrooms, where you can see the impact directly, and it's very rewarding.
right? Because it was like we could implement it right away.
Yeah.
Sometimes what we learn is you don't really implement right away because it might not be related. But this is something that we actually implemented, and we're having that feedback and having to adjust some
Adjust
things.
it, mhm.
Yeah, so that was really helpful.
Yeah, and I think the idea of forming this network, it's been really important to me for a long time. I started thinking about this as a teacher a long time ago. And my dissertation work was about the professionalization of teachers through action research. And then when Simeon came to Elmhurst, it made sense that we find a way to get this network started and funded in some way. We didn't need a lot of funding, but a little bit to get it off the ground. But I think it's so valuable that we're able to do this virtually, and now we have we have teachers on the West Coast now that are joining us. And really just providing the space for teachers to see what happens when you give them the resources and the space to professionalize the work that they're doing.
Yeah, I guess it never occurred to me that a lot of the professional development that you guys describe that oftentimes happens in school is about deprofessionalizing what you do, right? It's like telling you that you're not doing something right, so here's the solution. And what was always impressive to me, like every time we met, was you guys coming up with the kind of responses to your own questions, right? Like, yeah, I tried this, it worked, or I tried this and it didn't quite work, right? And kind of struggling through that. And to me, that's professional, right?
That's professional.
And we follow up with each other as well, you know. Sometimes with school professional development, it's like you're told that one PD and then you never hear about it again, you know.
Yeah.
So with this, it's like we were consistently checking in on each other, saying what happened the week prior, getting feedback, getting suggestions, you know, sharing something that went well. And so that made it even stronger, you know, more beneficial to us. And, you know, it just made our bond as a group, you know, just stronger.
So our next question is about why do you think other educators need to have opportunities to engage in this type of action research?
I think other educators should engage in action research because you just learn so much from your practice, and you're constantly learning new things. And the entire process that I went through, I feel like I just kept learning after each lesson I implemented or more feedback I gathered. I was just constantly learning new things.
Looks like someone
Oh,
joined
hey.
us.
Somebody joined us. Hello, Michael.
Hey, Michael.
How's it going?
Good. How are you? Can you hear? Can you hear us okay?
Fine, everything to everything, but good.
All right. Can you hear us okay?
Yes.
All right. Do you want to repeat the so, yeah.
So, Michael, if you could talk a little bit about the action research that you did through the professional development with the network, and sort of the big takeaways or the lessons that you learned from doing it?
Yeah, so this year I've been the resident principal at Kelly College Prep on the southwest side in CPS. And so initially I had this plan of kind of coming in and working with our ELPT. That didn't really work out. And so the focus of my work really became like, all right, how do I use reach and teacher evaluation, which is something that I have to do to build up my ability to support teachers in focusing on supporting their emergent bilingual students. And so for me, that was a process of building up and kind of tweaking and finding what are the right questions that I'm asking teachers in their pre-conferences and their post-conferences to get them to reflect on their teaching practices that were or were not supporting their emergent bilingual students. And then the network was great to have in terms of just that ability to like kind of collaborate and bounce ideas and get feedback and hear different perspectives was super valuable versus like me just trying to figure it out on my own.
Do you want to? Oh.
So why should teachers engage in action research?
Yeah, so we've been talking about why teachers should engage in action research.
Lily, you were starting to say something?
Yeah, I shared.
No, good.
Okay.
Finish up, please.
Okay. Yeah, no, I was just sharing that you just learn so much from your practice and you're constantly learning new things. And I felt like I just learned so much by having that interaction with you. And also just my lessons. Like I kept learning new things every time. And like you said, it was like ongoing. It's like it wasn't just one time where I just learned it, tried it one time and forgot about it. It was like constant. So I think you just learn so much. Like teachers should engage in action research because you just learn so much. And being also part of a group helps to further that learning. Like you have that support group that can help you analyze or think about different aspects of what research you are doing. So I felt like I just learned so much from all of you in this process, and it's just good.
I think to add to that, I think it was very much valuable because it was so personalized, and I think I viewed myself as the one leading and guiding my own learning, which is something that was very much new to me. Like I said earlier, like you sit in PD and you have someone talking at you. That's a very traditional way, but we were the ones creating the questions. We were the ones creating the tools. We were the ones analyzing all the data, and we were the ones doing most of the work, right? So then I think that is very valuable where we're the ones doing it, we're the ones guiding our own learning, and that is very much meaningful because then we're applying it back to our schools and our classrooms. And I think teachers would definitely benefit from doing action research because it's impactful and it's not like your traditional PD where someone said there's no follow-up. Like here, we were very much consistent. We were giving each other feedback, and I got to see it in action. Like what I learned from my own action research, I went back to my school and I implemented that, and I saw success in that. So even seeing the success of that speaks volumes.
Yeah, and I think initially it does sound a little bit intimidating, like research, but I mean, you pick something that you're interested in. It's something that you already want to work on. It's something you're already doing in your classroom. It's not extra, and I think initially you think like, oh, it's another thing added on to my plate. I'm already busy, but it's already something that you're doing, and you can just, I guess, improve it. It's an area that you want to improve, and you're implementing that change every day. So it's not more work, essentially. You're just improving on that area that you've been kind of putting to the side a little bit or not putting as much attention to.
I'd add, currently in my my principal preparation program at UIC, and like the research around what is effective professional development for teachers, like action research checks the box, because kind of like everyone else is saying here, can PD or PD that's like removed from the classroom isn't effective. And so action research is effective because it's you in your classroom, it's your students, it's job embedded, and it's like that job embedded piece that makes it valuable and that leads to growth, and also like kind of just generates that collaborative inquiry, continuous learning and improvement nature in our teachers and ourselves.
So can I say one of the things that I really enjoyed of our time together, just kind of on the professional side, was that you guys aren't all fourth grade dual language teachers, right? That you come from a variety of schools, you have different roles, but you were all engaging kind of in the same process, but doing it for you, right? And what was important to you. Can you talk just a little bit about what it was like? I mean, we have a couple teachers, a couple administrators here, right? So what was it like to be in the same kind of room as teacher or administrator, right? The other in some ways at school. And I know, Esther, you're kind of in between, right? Like,
Yeah.
You're not really an administrator, but people probably don't look at you as a teacher anymore, right? Like,
Yeah.
in some ways, yeah.
I thought it was really valuable to get those different perspectives from everyone. It's like I'm in the classroom, but then I got to see it from your perspective, from more of an instructional leadership, and also from Michael, and then you two with like the small groups. So it's like it really helps you understand that what you're doing, research from different perspectives, and you get those new ideas. That's how like a new idea would come into my head about, oh, did you try this, or did you think about this? So I think that was really beneficial.
Yeah, I think that when we were sharing a lot of what we were doing, that feedback we were given was from like the different lens. And then we would say, have you considered doing this? And then I'm like, oh, I didn't even think about that. Or have you tried doing this? And I think that just showed the collaboration and how easy it was for us to just kind of just be participating in this. I feel like if it were in a different setting, it wouldn't have been the same case or same scenario, right? So it's like this space allowed us to collaborate regardless of where we were at, what we were doing. And I think it's like that passion. I think we all shared that passion to wanting to learn and grow and be change agents in a way.
And we were very open with each other with, things that we were struggling with or that we would come across. And I think we all trusted each other. And I think we were just, the fact that we were open and we were getting, feedback from a principal, an instructional coach, a classroom teacher, it was just nice to just let it all out, kind of like a vent, but it was really powerful to just share, I'm really struggling with this. What do you think I could do that would help me help myself, and my students?
Yeah, I wanted to reiterate that point of like just having that like trusting space to share. Like a week in, when my original plan was to work with my ELPT, I had this unplanned interaction with her in a hallway that just did not go how I planned to. But having the ability to like have this space to share that with and kind of like learn and adapt was super helpful. And just that idea of like different lenses, because I think oftentimes administrators can get kind of stuck in administrator land, and so it's helpful to bridge that and really be working with people in all sorts of different positions and getting all the different types of feedback. So
in what ways can you guys see the network continuing to support you? And then kind of the inverse of that, how would you guys see yourself supporting the network?
Probably, again, through like the virtual meetings. I think that's what really helped me stay accountable, but also like have that group to have that support from was a really nice way for like the network to continue to support. And then also I would be able to support the networks, just probably staying involved inside the community, staying active. I know that we have like the website that we could probably still stay connected to. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna mention the website. You know, sometimes life gets busy, but you know, the website's something quick that we can go to and still interact with everybody. And if we're struggling with something, then it's another space that we can go to and just respond to each other, you know, or share something great that happened as well. So I think definitely the website is a good resource to keep connected and still keep learning as we go every day.
I think that I'm excited for it to grow. I think it has a big capacity to like go farther than Illinois, and I think we have in the spring, we have some in the West Coast, you said, right? And I think I'm excited to meet others, and I also think that it can also be very valuable to incoming teachers. So maybe even partnering with student teachers, students that are about to become educators, so that way they get to see like the work that we're doing, or we become mentors in some way. I think it would be very valuable to them too. Like, it makes me think when I first started, like I would have loved to have been in a community like this, because I did not know what I was doing. But this community and this space is very valuable and impactful. So I'm really excited for what's next.
Yeah, and it, kind of building off that idea, it's like, I think sometimes we can be isolated in our own school spaces, and you know, we may want to do really great work, but that support may or may not be available in our isolated school or district. And so having the opportunity to connect more broadly, it's just opportunities for more resources. And you know, I want to do this thing, but no one else in my school does. Well, that's kind of where the network can come in and play that role of being that support that may or may not exist in your space. But then it can also be like a resource that empowers you to then build that in your own space. So like, I think it's a really powerful opportunity to do that. And you know, I hope as I enter my own school potentially next year, whatever that looks like hopefully this is something that, you know, I'm able to utilize with my team of emergent bilingual teachers, and something like I'm able to empower them to build up. So.
And you bring up a good point, because when I've done 2 action research. I did one in the fall and the spring, and I've worked with different teachers, and their first question was, what is that? And then their second question's like, you're just doing that to do that? Like, and I'm like, yes, like there's so much value in this, you know, like having like, they're like, really? Like, you're just gonna log in? I'm like, yes, I am. Like, this is so awesome. This is so interesting to me. I'm so passionate about this. And it just shows that teachers are curious about it. They're like, oh, that's so cool. I think with one of the teachers that I worked in the fall, like I worked closely with her. I had to take pictures. I had to gather artifacts. And she's like, what is this for? And I explained that to her. She's like, wow, that's so cool. And she's like, and you're learning this? I'm like, yes, like I'm developing and I'm learning from it. But yeah, kind of to go off of what Michael was saying, like taking this and being able to apply it somewhere else in the future, for sure, wherever the future lies or next steps are.
Yeah, and we're just bringing awareness to action research in general, you know, bringing it to light and letting other teachers know this is something you can do and this is a value that comes from it.
Yeah, not everyone gets the opportunity to do that through their Elmhurst Teaching English Learner program.
Nice plug, thanks. Nice.
Well, I want to thank all of you for coming and being part of pioneering this action research virtual network for multilingual learners. I mean, at times kind of it's filled my heart and filled my eyes with tears at times hearing you talk. I'm so proud of all of you. You were all wonderful students here and to see you kind of grow into these positions you're in and where you're going, we'll be here for you.
No,
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm so sad I couldn't be there in person tonight.
Yeah.
How's their baby?
He's great.
Yeah.
He's good.
Are you sleeping?
He's laughing. You froze.
My expectations were for sleep were low, and I've exceeded those. So
Good, good.
Well, thank you, you two as well for like taking us in and like, it can be scary doing new things. So kudos to both of you for just being so supportive, for reaching out. And I mean, Elmhurst is very special to me, and I appreciate the opportunity. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yes.
And thank you for thinking of us,
Yeah.
you know?
Thank you.
Well, I mean, we do have a couple minutes. Do you want to questions? Anyone? I mean, questions?
I can start. So, hello everyone. I'm Simeon the Dean for the School of Education here. And Dr. Stumme and Troiano, we do research, but sometimes nobody reads our research. Or, you know, we publish to get tenure, and we often think about, you know, is anyone really reading my research? Is anyone really using what I'm talking about or what I'm proposing? And I think action research is really wonderful because it gives you a sense of purpose. There is an audience, there's a mission and vision with it, and it's also messy. It doesn't always work out, and you can get frustrated. So I was wondering if you wanted to talk about the messiness of it, and it's not like the scientific method where you come up with this beautiful conclusion at the end, and sometimes you have to go back and cycle through this. I was just wondering about your process through this.
Personally, for me, I felt very challenged in the spring because I was really, like, I thought I knew everything, right, about ELs. You know, I'm just like, I'm a bilingual teacher. Like, we need to do scaffolds. And, like, when I realized that wasn't working, I was like, uh-oh, like, what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to reach, like, you know, like, the 7th graders, the 6th graders? How am I still going to support a teacher, you know? So to me, that I had to really, like, be open-minded and be like, okay, that isn't working. Let's think and collaborate. And I think that the fact that the teacher was so willing to do that and sit down with me, I'm like, let's unpack this curriculum and let's try this. It's not working. And then we were like, okay, we're going to try something else. So to me, it was like just being like, it humbled me a little bit and being like, yeah, you don't know everything, but where are we going from here? How, and the focus is always the kids and the teacher that I was helping. So I kept reminded, like, you know, like, I'm passionate about this, but yeah, that challenged me because I was like, what, you think you know all the scaffolds, and you really don't. You really have to be in there with the teacher, with the kids. I mean, I was seeing them, they got used to seeing me. But yeah, that was it for me. Just like the learning curve of just being like, okay, Esther, you don't know it. Like, let's try this, let's try that. And it happened a lot.
I mean, similar to that, previous to intervention, I taught 2nd grade, so I was in the classroom for 3 years, and then this year I was in intervention, and that's a very different role. So when thinking about engagement, I think I struggled a little bit, like, how can I engage this small group that, you know, is struggling and sometimes, you know, is showing that they aren't interested in what we're gonna learn. So it definitely took trial and error and trying different things and seeing, okay, what do these kids care about? What can I bring into this session that will make them want to come and want to learn and see value in learning their letters and learning how to read a word or learning how to read a sentence? Why should they care to learn to read? And I think that was the biggest thing that I learned, and knowing that, like you said, it's going to get messy. Not everything's going to work the first time around, and although we know that, we sometimes don't want to accept it. It's like, this didn't work. Again, another thing, until, you find what works for that student, for that group, and you go with it. But it's not easy. It's never the first time. Oftentimes it's not.
I think for me, like, because even my action research that I did in my undergrad at Elmhurst, like I went into this, I'm gonna do this cool comparative study between X and Y strategies, blah, blah, and then ended up becoming this like super focused group, like a study on just like one student. And so I think it's like recognizing the purpose of action research is to improve your own practice. And like also maybe you're learning something that you can share with others. And so I think if you like give yourself kind of like that break of my study's not going to be perfect, but I'm going to learn something to improve my practice to support my students. Then you kind of take the messiness with like a little bit of like, oh, all right, well, let's try something different. And but I think like people need to have, like they need to give themselves that permission and like be okay with it's not going to be this nice, pretty study. It is going to be organic. It's going to be messy. And you know what? Something goes wrong. We're going to try something different and work through it.
Yeah, I think for me, I was coming in with like the expectations. I'm gonna record like so many videos. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna record all these notes. Once you're in there, it's like, I can barely have time to like write one note about this. So it does get messy. But just having kind of that grace with yourself, like it's not gonna be perfect. It is what it is, and you just take it from there. And it also helped having Dr. Troiano's guidance too. You're always so understanding and just looking for like that positive, like, okay, so if that didn't work, what's something else like you can try? So it's always very, very understanding.
And it's funny, Michael, you brought up your first one. I still remember my first action research in undergrad. How do first graders respond to a translanguaging read aloud? So the fact that I remember that just goes against showing the impact of that. I just wanted to add to that because you remembered yours. I'm like, I still remember mine. I don't know if anyone else will. Yeah, that was like the first one.
But like how many one-off PD sessions that you sat in even last year do you remember? Right?
No
Versus,
comment.
like,
No, but.
I was going to ask a question. If you have a colleague come to you and ask you, like, why should maybe they get involved in something like this, what would you say to that colleague?
I would say just give it a try. You're already like doing things for your classroom, and trying this just kind of gives you more insight into what you're already doing. So it kind of helps you just learn more about yourself as an educator, and also help others within your group.
Yeah, it's going to
this will
help.
look great in your domain 4 professional.
Oh my gosh.
You want to be a better teacher, it's job embedded professional growth, and like it's trying new things, it's reflecting on it, and it's being structured in that. And so like, yeah, you want to get better at this? Let's organize. I may not even use the word action research necessarily to describe it, because that might open this kind of like can of worms of like, that sounds scary, but I might like frame it in a different way of supporting my teachers and going through this process in their own classrooms and empowering teachers to learn from one another and reflect in manner.
I do agree that it would give them the space to be reflective. I think as teachers, leaders, principals, administrators, whatever your role is, we work in a field that's just so fast-paced that sometimes we're like, this is the right way to do it. and then you start creating that thinking. Whereas action research, you really need to be open-minded and you don't know what's going to happen. And you're the one guiding your own learning, and you're the one navigating the messiness, and you're the one analyzing your own data. And I think that makes it so much more valuable that you're the one doing that, leading the work, and you have the space to be reflective. Like, I think that is where the meat is, or the sauce is, or whatever you prefer to call it, but that's where the space to be reflective and the ability to apply it within your role. It's very personalized.
Yeah, it's an opportunity to just learn and grow. And it's with something that you're already doing in your classroom. So, like I said, sometimes it sounds intimidating and you don't want to try something that sounds like it's more work. But when you realize it's something you're already doing and you're just putting in that extra work, but it's going to help in the long run, and it's something you're going to learn and just keep applying every single year and just get better at. And it's for your own good.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, audience, and thank you, GUI guys. Yeah, anything else?
No, thank you again for coming and for your time that you've put into developing the network. Thanks for joining the panel this evening, and we hope to see you again soon.
Yes.
Yay.
Thanks, y'all.
All right.